body of Tim Miller's daughter, Laura, is one of 4 that turned up in this Lake City field between 1983 and 1991.
Why don't we want to solve this? This is a big deal here.
It was kind of a Wild West. There was a lot of good old boys type stuff going on.
I invented drive-by shootings in Dickinson, Texas. Yes, I fought Clyde Hedrick.
Wrong place, wrong time, you know, run into the devil sometimes.
Now we really have a reason for this to be called the damn killing fields. It was crazy. I don't know if I really can't even put my finger on all the emotions that I was going through.
I have very, very fond memories of being with her. My grandfather was the last person to see her. And she was, "Bye, Daddy." She had helped him cut a limb off a tree. She climbed the tree for him that day and cut the limb down and helped him work in his garden. So they hung out all day together that day. And he told her that, you know, I'm gonna go home and I'll be at Josie's tomorrow. She just said, "I'm going to the store, I'm gonna get a ride." It wasn't uncommon.
But your dad was like, "No, I'll take you, nothing."
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You want to ride? "No, Dad, I got it." She was spotted using that phone at the convenience store, according to the clerk. I mean, but all the details were fuzzy back then. There was no surveillance cameras. There wasn't anybody paying attention. She was a regular, so I don't think she stood out that day in any particular way, except she knew the clerk. She saw her on the phone. It was right before Halloween, and we were at my grandparents' house because we always went over there for the holidays. And I remember my mother snapping and saying, "How could you even think about Halloween when we haven't heard from Edie?" I think we were just grasping at trying to have some level of normalcy because my grandparents were so distraught. I mean, they were just beside themselves with worry. I'm Nina Yeager, and I'm Edie's niece, the first victim of the killing fields in Lake City, Texas. She said, if anything ever happens to me, go to the League City Police because I have friends there. And unfortunately, that didn't seem to be the truth.
They think that maybe she just ran off with somebody.
Well, that's what they wanted to tell us. She didn't want to be found. She's an adult. She just went missing on her own. And she didn't want us looking for her. Don't put out flyers. Don't go to the media. That was a big one.
Why?
You know, Robert, if I had the answer to that, it would be amazing. As you can imagine, I mean, it fractured us. It was something missing after that. Not just her physically, but just the light in my grandparents' eyes. It's like it got snuffed out when they found her remains. There was no hope of her coming back. And she had a beautiful 5-year-old daughter that they had to soldier up and, you know, take care of. But nothing was ever the same. Holidays, Christmas, Easter, around when she was found, her birthday was April 30th. It was never the same again after that, and I wonder how differently all of our lives would have been.
September 10th, 1984, and I'll never ever forget that day. I was getting ready to walk out the door to go Calder Drive in Main Street to work on Calder Center Shop Center, and Laura said, "Dad, can I talk to you?" And I said, "Sure, sis, what's on your mind?" And she said, "Is it okay if Vernon comes over tonight?" Which Vernon was Laura's boyfriend. And I said, "I believe that'd be a good idea." We just moved in this house from Dickinson. Tim Miller, Laura Miller's father, and also founder, director of Texas EquiSearch. And of course, the day you move in, your phone wasn't hooked up. It normally took 3 or 4 days way back then. There was actually a pay phone at a convenience store right at the end of 517 and Hobbs Road, which is maybe a half mile away from the house. So I said, but when Mom comes home for a lunch break, have her take you down to the payphone and call Vernon and say, Dad says it's okay to come over. So anyhow, yeah, her mother took her there and Laura's talking on the phone and stuff, and I guess her mom says, Laura, hurry up, I'm gonna be late going back to work. And Laura says, Mom, I just want to talk to Vernon a little bit longer. And she said, all right, be careful, see when I get home. Well, Laura's mom got home and Laura wasn't there, and of course she was concerned. We thought there for a moment that maybe Vernon got there a little bit early and the kids were out walking, because they'd say, walk and walk and walk. Oh my God, the kids walked a lot. Then we got a knock on the door and it was Vern. And we said, where's Laura? And he said, well, I don't know. She said I could come over. We panicked at that moment, but again, not to the point that I think Laura was murdered. Laura had a seizure problem. She had to be on her medication twice a day, and we said, oh my God, she was walking back from the store. She had a seizure. Somebody took her to the hospital. So we went to Clear Lake Hospital, we went to St. John's Hospital, and no Laura. The next morning, we reported her missing in the League City Police Department. And you know what? I'm not out to slander police departments, but I'm just going to tell the truth. And when I reported her missing, I'll never forget this detective literally rolled his eyes at me. And he said, well, you know, y'all just moved from Dickinson to League City. Laura just turned 16. You know, that's a age when they run away. And I said, well, even if that's the case, Laura's in trouble because she has to have her medication twice a day or she'll go into seizures. 2 days later, our phone got hooked up, went back to League City Police Department, and I said, listen, nobody's seen Laura. Here's our phone number. I said, now I'm really, really concerned. I said, because 5, 6 months ago, the body was found somewhere off of Calder Drive. I said, this is a small town, this stuff doesn't happen. I said, would you please tell me where the property's at or please search it? Same detective. And he says, yeah, that girl Heidi, she worked at a bar. Somebody took her out after the bar closed to have sex. She did give up sex. They murdered her, threw her out. Isolated incident. I'll never forget the words. Isolated incident. And they said, don't talk to Heidi's parents because they're trying to get over Heidi's death. Go home, wait by your phone, Laura's going to be calling. So I went to the police department the next week, went to the next week, went to the next week. The job went to hell. And, you know, life just started turning into shambles.
We got a call from the dispatcher that said that two kids on dirt bikes found what they thought was possibly a deceased person. When I got to the scene, I knew immediately it was a human. You know, I could smell the decomposition. Robert Valentine, I'm a former League City police officer. I could tell it was a female, long, dark hair, auburn hair, and I didn't want to get that close, and I just wanted to, again, back off, but I knew what it was, and it was kind of eerie because I'm looking around and I'm wondering what else is out here. I notified the dispatcher and asked for Tom, the other officer, to come by the scene, and when he did, we started securing the location, and there was a point where we just kind of scattered, moved out a wider area. I saw what I thought was possibly some remains, but I wasn't sure because they were in the brush. And I'm looking, and about that time, Tom called out he had found a skull. And I thought, oh, this is another one. What do we got here? I think both of us were somewhat taken back, like we weren't expecting this. We were just looking for evidence from the original victim. And boom, we found the second one. And there we backed off and said, okay, that's it. We're not going to touch anything else. Who would have done this? Who came out here? It had to be someone who knew the area or someone who frequented that area, possibly. It was a muddy dirt road at that time that came to a dead end, if you will. Once you passed the scene where the bodies were, part of the oil fields that were still out there. A lot of people would dump trash. Unless you would have gone out there quite often or maybe knew that area, you wouldn't know where it was going. So the thoughts were, we got to secure the scene. We have to make sure that nothing else is disturbed and go forward. We knew at that time, Tom and I were talking, we knew at that time that there had also been another homicide out there previously, and that was Heidi Fye. And I remember looking at the scene and where the three bodies were, it was almost like a direct line, if you will. And I thought that was a little odd.
When they got Audrey's body, he put her in this big vat with boiling water and, from what I understand, kind of like an acid soap solution to go ahead and boil all the skin off of her body to see if there's any stab wounds, this, that, or the other. Instead, why in hell didn't they x-ray her? Well, when they was cleaning out the vat, they heard something rolling around, and it was a Federal .22 long rifle bullet. So now when they get that bullet, they send it off to ballistics. Well, the kind of acid soap solution stuff destroyed the bullet, so they couldn't do ballistics on it. Why in the hell wasn't she x-rayed first?
The bullet wasn't there before they put Audrey in there, and the bullet was there after, so obviously came from somewhere in her body or on her body. And, but that also, I believe that process ruled out some ballistics testing that could have been done.
She was probably 5'6", 5'7", and she might have weighed 120 pounds, so she was tall. But she could hold her own. She would, if it had been where she could have fought somebody that was going to hurt her, she would have. I know her well enough to know that. I'm Shirley Love. I am Audrey Cook's sister-in-law. The coroner's report, I asked, where's the evidence? The fingernails were clipped. They're not to be found. That's frustrating because of the DNA that we can have now. If those could be found, that's frustrating as a family. It's not going to bring her back, but just for somebody to pay for what they did.
The day before her funeral, the funeral director, who was a close family friend and had taken care of my oldest sister, he actually came and picked me up. He said the day before I went to finalize the program, and he said, "Darling, I'm not going to be able to cremate your sister." And I said, "What?" And she's got 4 or 5 different death certificates, all saying something different. One even said a car wreck. So he said, "I can't cremate her, and I can't authorize this till I get a valid death certificate." There were 5 death certificates, all saying something different, and I found that out the day before her funeral.
What?
Is this your first time to hear this?
Yes, ma'am. Was that coming from the Galveston County Medical Examiner?
I said, "We're having a funeral tomorrow. I've been waiting on this for 30 years. And he said, "Oh yeah, pick out an urn." So that's what we did. But what I can say to you, it was just like her dying all over again. Every single one of those calls, every single one of those events, when you wait a whole year for a death certificate, that's the final closure.
What did the final death certificate say?
A homicide.
A lot of bad luck in this case. It's unfortunate. It really is. And that's such an understatement. I'd just say it's unfortunate. It's tragic.
When I'd come out here, I seen Heidi's headstone over there. And I would go over by Heidi's headstone and stuff. And one day I came out here and we was putting little trinkets and stuff on Laura's headstone. and I seen this family over there, and I was real reluctant to go talk to them because I remember Lake City Police said, don't talk to Heidi's parents. And finally I got the courage up and I walked over there and I said, Mr. Villarreal, you're Heidi's dad. Let me introduce myself. And he said, no, you're Mr. Miller, you're Laura's dad. And I said, yes. He said, I don't know if it's appropriate or not to talk to you because Lake City Police Department said don't talk to you. He said, Mr. Miller, Lake City Police Department told me not to talk to you. So the first time we met was right here.
It's still November 11, 1984. I called the police and I asked to talk to Gibson or to Pat. But since they haven't called me, I have to just keep calling them. I know I'm a pest, but I can't help it. I was a pest before. I'm just continue being a pest until I find out.
That was my grandfather. He was all about documenting things. He just was always journaling, and he was always felt like he needed to just record things. Day one since she went missing, he was calling around, trying to locate people, trying to find friends, and he'd write down his notes. But because he had previously had a stroke, he was afraid he wouldn't remember everything, so he could tell the police, so he would go to the recorder, and then he would talk to the recorder about it, and he would tape it to make sure he didn't miss any details.
I wish there was somebody somewhere that would help. I'm still not going to quit. I'm going to keep looking, searching. I'm going to find out somewhere. I've got to find her. It means so much to me.
I lived with him my senior year, and I'd see him come home and sit in his corner, the table, with his glass of iced tea, and he'd be talking into his recorder.
It's really getting to us now that we don't know what's happening at the police department. I'm sure that they, whatever information they have, they don't want no one to know. But it's gnawing at my insides now to the point that I'm beginning to feel that the police department of Lake City may have dropped the case by now. I don't know why I have this feeling because they have not talked to me.
Once my mother trusted me enough to give me possession of this stuff and I started digging into it, I feel responsible for continuing to not let her murder be in vain, not let her just be forgotten, and not let whoever did this get away with it. I feel it's my responsibility, and it's the responsibility of our family to continue to get answers and justice for her. It would be easy just to put this behind us and move on and just let it lie. My grandmother did what she could, and then my mom, she still runs the ad every year on Heidi's birthday, Galveston Daily News. It's been running it for 40 years to honor her on her birthday every year.
Boy, if I had enough money to rent a billboard here in Lake City and put her picture, a big picture up there, to help, I'm sure that would do a lot of good.
I can't stop hoping. But I feel like, I won't let it go. Grandfather's still looking at me. And he's counting on us. He didn't do all that work for us to throw it in a closet and go, oh well, it is what it is. She was my Aunt Heidi. She was his baby girl. She was a mother. She was a sister. She was an aunt. But mostly she was a daughter, and she was a beautiful light. I feel it's my responsibility, and it's the responsibility of our family to continue to get answers and justice for her.
She was family. Somebody has to be her voice.
What I was told is that she was raped, brutally beaten to death, and left naked in a ditch.
And very, very, very early on, right after Laura's body was found, Clyde's name was brought up.
Either Clyde is the most unlucky human being that's ever walked the earth, or he's a killer.
You're considered the prime suspect and have been for a long time in the murders of Laura Miller, Heidi Fye, Donna Prudhomme, and Audrey Cook.
Yeah.
How do you respond to that?
I didn't do it. I've already been doing this for 44 years. Tim Miller got in his head that I'm the one that killed his daughter because I was supposed to be living down the street from him. I didn't know then when I lived there. I was working all the time. So I've never met her, talked to her, never rode a bike with her, never smoked weed with her. That's all the things that he's got fit in his head.
Vern, Laura's boyfriend, when they would walk from our house to their little cemetery right on the Dickinson Bayou, which is only 4 blocks away from my house, Laura used to like hang out in that cemetery in the bayou and that. And Vern says, yeah, we'd walk by this house and this guy would whistle at Laura and stuff. And one time he stopped and talked to her, and I didn't like this guy, and so I left.
And it was Clyde?
It was Clyde. Tim Miller, Laura Miller's father, and also founder director of Texas EquiSearch.
Well, it's not just in Tim's head. I mean, the FBI considers you a suspect. The Galveston County Sheriff's Office considers you as a suspect. The Galveston County District Attorney considers you a suspect. So it's not just in Tim Miller's head.
But he's got most of them thinking. He's got a lot of people public out there convinced.
You did live a couple of doors down from the Millers.
Supposedly, I mean, I don't know for sure. He said I did.
Laura Miller, he lived just a block away from, and we had witnesses that said that he knew her and would talk to her, and one person said that they saw Laura on the back of his motorcycle at one point. My name is Richard Renison. I'm a retired special agent with the FBI.
Do you know Heidi Fye?
No.
You never met Heidi Fye.
That's how I remember.
Clyde came to her house while I was there with Brandy, her youngest daughter. And I remember grabbing Brandy and going to the back room when this guy came over, because I just had that creepy vibe from him. He had this stringy blonde hair, and I don't know why I remember, like, his fingernails were dirty. I'm Nina Yeager, and I'm Heidi's niece, the first victim of the killing fields in Lake City, Texas. She worked for the Texas Moon. She bartended and she waitressed.
How popular was the Texas Moon?
Oh, it was the spot. It's where everybody went to dance.
Clyde the Slide, as his nickname was. Clyde the Slide. He was a big self-proclaimed dancer at the Texas Moon, and he would introduce himself by going out and sliding across the dance floor. Lieutenant Tommy Hansen, Galveston County Sheriff's Office, Major Crimes Unit, Cold Case Investigations.
Clyde was a good-looking guy. He was fit, he was pretty buff, and self-described one of the best dancers out there, and I think he actually did win some dance contests. So as often as he frequented the place, he would have had to known her, and there was one witness who said that they saw Heidi in the car with Clyde at one point.
She lived at the time just a few blocks away from there. I mean, maybe 8 or 9 blocks from the Texas Moon. And I remember I was there with Brandy, Heidi's baby, and she was only probably about 3.5 years old. And we were at Heidi's house, and he came over. They smoked a joint on the porch, but I took the baby to the inside, and we just stayed inside because I just wanted him to leave. And I told the police that. I actually picked his photo out, a book, a binder of people. And I said, that guy came to her house. I didn't even know who he was at the time, but I know I picked his black and white photo out.
She talked about a guy who had killed a girl and had driven with her in the back and finally had dumped the body somewhere. She said the guy's name was Clyde. She also said that she had known Heidi and had seen her with a guy in a gray car. And she asked me if I knew him. I told her I knew just very little of Heidi's friends.
What led him to look at Clyde?
A mutual friend of Heidi and Clyde's, Cindy Williams, who, may she rest in peace, has now passed, repeatedly told my grandfather, you need to go look into them. I have a picture of all of us together. You need to have the police go talk to him.
He wants to talk to it because he wants those pictures that Cindy talked about. He's definitely hard on this guy, Clyde. And he feels that perhaps those pictures might lead to what he wants to know. Because the guy says that he didn't know Heidi, but Cindy told him he did. And that he looked at those pictures taken, that Heidi was also in the picture. And he says he knows the guy's lying. He told us about his opinion of this Clyde and how he knows the guy's lying when he talks to him. He had a book and he showed us some photos of the Clyde when the guy was in prison and now. He seems to think there is a connection and he's trying to find it.
I spent a lot of time listening to the tapes. I spent a lot of time reading through the notes. I spent a lot of time connecting dots, and I feel like I've gone to the authorities and I get such a small amount of their time to listen to me because I don't feel like they think I'm credible because I was so young. But my memory is very vivid. You don't go through something like this she was like my older sister. So you don't go through something like that with someone that was so close to you and not remember details.
He still maintains that the same person committed all these crimes, and he will stay on it until there is no more. He said it may be a month, a year, or longer, but he'll be on it until he finds out. But right now, he's convinced that it was Clyde, the way he talked.
Even though you were Clyde the Slide at the Texas Moon, where she was a bartender, you never met her.
I know her from the bar, but I've never done drugs with them. I never hang out with them.
Okay, well, but at first you said you had no idea who she was. Now you're saying you do know her from the bar.
You said she was a bartender at the Texas Moon.
Right.
Okay, so, all right, then. But just mention her name doesn't ring a bell to me.
Okay.
It's just a name.
Okay. Do you remember seeing her niece when you were over at Heady's apartment?
Her niece?
Because she's the one who saw you at Heady's apartment. So she says you definitely knew Heady.
I knew her from the bar. I don't know her from no house.
What about Donna Prudhomme?
What about it?
Hi, I'm Diane Gonsolin. I am Donna Gonsolin Prudhomme's sister.
I saw a picture of what Clyde used to look like. And I can tell you exactly what came out of my mouth. Oh, that's Donna. Because he was a good-looking man. You know, he was a nice-looking man. And you know, he was known to be a dancer and a suave and debonair and other things. So I could see that. I had sent it to his wife, but I didn't know if she was ever had
sent Clyde's picture.
The picture to Brad's wife. And then I asked him if he had ever seen the picture of Clyde. He says, who's Clyde? Because he stayed out of it too. He knew his mother didn't abandon him. And he said, that's all I need to know. I can go on with my life now. I send him the picture, and within seconds, he's calling me saying, that's him, Aunt Diane, that's him. That's him, I know it, I know it. I know what he had on, I know what his eyes look like, I know his shirt, I know his jewelry, I know his belt, I know his pants, I know his shoes. I can tell you what car he was driving, what color it was. Now, one might think a 12-year-old, how could they really remember this? He has a photographic memory, number one. Number two, when you grow up in a dysfunctional home, you are very in tune with everything going on around you, and you pay close attention to detail. And that's what he did that day. I think that it's a different conversation that we're having. Especially with Brad's ID and Clyde. That was her last trip home.
Her son said that he saw you with her in Louisiana before she disappeared.
I've only been to Louisiana twice, and both times with the wife I'm with now. I've never been to Louisiana before, ever.
When he saw your picture and said, that's who was with my mom.
If he says I've seen me in Louisiana, that's sort of but I've never been to Louisiana. I never even heard, I mean, I've heard of it, but I've never been nowhere near it. And so my wife I got now.
Donna Gonsolin was in the same circles as everybody else. She was just having a hard time.
But was she known to go to the Texas Moon?
I don't independently think we've ever been able to say that she was there. We didn't get an opportunity to interview some of the people that she was close to because they passed away. Donna's boyfriend or husband at the time that she went missing passed away about 3 or 4 months before we got Donna identified.
Well, Clyde, you know, he's had a pretty extensive criminal history for lots of different things. Thefts, weapons, drugs, alcohol, aggravated robbery. He's been handled for a bunch of stuff. Texas, Florida. He had a massive ego, everything that we learned about him.
Everybody was afraid of Clyde. He was very controlling, abusive, and manipulative. One of his exes, she was still very disturbed and very disappointed in herself for maintaining a relationship with him after the abuse and after things that he did to her. He just has left a wake of casualties.
It felt like it wasn't a matter if something was going to happen to our lives. It was more like a matter of when. When was it going to happen? Because there was one night, I got woken up in the middle of the night by my mother yelling, "Get out of the house. Clyde's lost it. He's going to kill us." And we're running to get out of the house. I look back and he's standing there completely naked, just standing there as we're driving off. I'm Marla, and Clyde Hedrick was my stepdad. It's very manipulative and calculated. Evil.
She said, "Oh yeah, he's trying to look at me, he's trying to have sex with me." I don't know, Maya and I have been charged with it. And all these people I'm supposed to be so violent to, how come none of them's ever filed charges?
How did his name come up in these other murders?
It was determined he had some connections to some people that may have been connected to some of those girls. And they had developed him as a pretty good suspect. And when this case happened, it kind of helped support that this is the personality that we're dealing with. We've learned through the investigations on Ellen's case and stuff, and comments that Clyde had made to other people that, do I have any doubt in my mind that he's potentially suitable for several of those girls? Absolutely, absolutely. I have no second qualms about that. All of them, I can't, I'm not gonna go there. He has verbally admitted to stuff, but you know, you gotta be able to add fuel to the fire to get a conviction on just him running his mouth. But he did. And that goes back to his ego. You know, his fellow inmates, he's, you know, running his mouth to them.
Apparently, this episode happened in I guess a communal area in jail. So there were 3 people that overheard this conversation, or Clyde giving this rant. So we had multiple people, some were just not credible. My name is Kevin Petroff. I'm a former assistant district attorney at the Galveston County District Attorney's Office. Texas law is very suspicious of jailhouse informants, or as they're commonly known, jailhouse snitches. Basically, you cannot make a case based on that. You have to corroborate have to have enough corroborative evidence to show that the person charged was actually involved in the murder. One of the things that we do in preparing for trial is we've got to give notice to the defense of just every bad thing we've ever heard about someone. Most of the time that doesn't come in trial, that's not relevant, but it's something that puts the defense on notice. We did not have, and still don't have, corroborative evidence to support that jailhouse informant story of Clyde in any way being involved in Laura Miller's death.
I've never admitted any of this, and I've denied everything, and I'm going to go to jail and so some young kid that I've never seen before, I'm going to confess all my sins to this young kid. It was just a young kid that was at my trial that said I supposedly told her that I kidnapped Laura Miller, and I had sex with her, and I saw I never said nothing like that.
Clyde was clearly the strongest suspect. And I remember we had a whiteboard with all these names on them, and slowly they would be crossed off, ruled out one way or another, and we could never rule out Clyde, never rule him out. I certainly can't say definitively that he did it, but I can't, at this point, I can't see who else would have done it. But there's a piece missing before I'm comfortable saying it is definitely Clyde. And I can't say that it is definitely Clyde at this point, but I'm a long ways from ruling him out. He's the most likely suspect, in my opinion.
I've never been to the killing field. They call it the killing field. I don't even know where it's at.
He claims he'd never even heard of Calder Road, knew nothing about Calder Road.
No, we came out here specifically to mow the lawn for his buddy. I was here. He was here. My mother was here. So he knows this place. He will always deny. There were just times off and on, he would just throw things out here and there. And one of the things being how he'll never go back to jail no matter what.
What is it about Clyde Hedrick that is so special that dozens of people in multiple law enforcement agencies on the state, local, and federal level want to conspire to make you a suspect? Why are you that special?
I don't know. I know two people, Tim Miller, he's just doing it for money, and then my ex-wife got it all started because I divorced her. She spent 3 years begging me to come back. I refused to do it. And she made a statement that if I can't have it, nobody can.
But that's one comment. That doesn't explain why, after 4 decades, police in the FBI and the DA's office will not remove your name as a suspect. That one comment from an ex-wife doesn't explain 4 decades of suspicion that will not go away.
And now they're like a dog with bone. Now they got it, they ain't gonna let go of it. 2, 3 years go by, they got new detectives, new ideas, new technology, and they start all over again. They interview me again, cameras, wanting to see if my story is still the same as it was 2 years ago. There's nothing they can take to the DA. They keep interviewing me, same people, each time this person said, they got all these people, I've seen them, if they had all that, I'd be in prison for that.
I filed the wrongful death suit to let Clyde Hedrick know that, Clyde, I'm still here. I am still here, and I'm not going to quit, and until the day I die.
Tim Miller sued Clyde Edwin Hedrick in 2014, claiming he has evidence that Hedrick is responsible for the murder of his daughter Laura Miller, who disappeared in 1984 and was found in 1986 in what has become known as the killing fields.
As time goes by, the more information I get, and the more information I'm continuing to get. I have no doubt in my mind, but Clyde Hedrick is responsible for Laura's murder.
Monday morning, a judge granted Miller's request for a default judgment and awarded him more than $21 million in damages.
We did reach out to Clyde on several occasions and invite him to tell his side of the story, and told him there was an opportunity to do that, and he wasn't interested.
Did he not respond, or did he just say no?
No, he responded, and he said no unequivocally.
A lot of the evidence we brought forward, we don't want to go ahead and talk about now because we don't want to interfere in the investigation.
Miller did say when Hedrick's San Leon home was foreclosed and the owners allowed him access to the house, he spent $6,000 cleaning up the property and boxing up Hedrick's items. When we contacted Galveston County District Attorney Jack Rohde about the civil judgment, he said the criminal cases remain ongoing, but added Clyde Hedrick has not been ruled out as a suspect in these investigations.
I was hoping that we could go ahead and do a deposition and ask the questions and throw things that we know at him and stuff. So it was another way to go ahead and question Clyde Hedrick on things that we know and stuff, and for him never to respond or anything. And he got very, very ugly with my attorneys when they contacted him. And I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm not going to get rotator cuff surgery tomorrow but you know what? If I wouldn't have done everything I've done over the years, I really feel as though this case would be locked up, closed, nobody hear about it again. Nobody had a voice in this thing. I was the only voice, and again, I'm not saying that bragging about it because it's been a damn difficult, emotional journey, if you want. I was upset with Heady's dad when he passed away because it's like, now I'm like the only dad to these damn girls.
I find it hard to believe that anyone has actually thoroughly gone through all the things that Tim and I have together. So let's put it before a grand jury. Let's let the people decide if they want him out.
But they say we can't use these jailhouse snitches. Well, like I told DA, I said, what do you think these people meant in Bible study? This family out of Seabrook called me one night and said, Mr. Miller, can we please talk to you? And we don't want to bring up bad stuff, but how did you handle your daughter being missing? Because our 14-year-old daughter is missing. And so when I went over to their house and I walked in their house, I seen that look on their face of the helplessness, the hopelessness, and the fear. And it was like, my God, that's how I had to look for 17 months. And the loneliness, and I helped them make some flyers up and everything. We got the flyers out, and they called me 2 days later. Mom did cry, Mr. Miller, thank you, thank you. Because of flyer, we got her located, and she's okay. And it's like, maybe there is something I can do. I say this all the time. I choked up a little bit. I didn't choose Equisearch, it chose me. Yeah, it chose me.
Saw the for sale sign, called the realtor, and had a great conversation. And I was thinking to myself, this is perfect. And then he said at the end of the conversation, I'm obligated by law to tell you something about the property. And he asked me if I'd heard of the killing fields. And I stopped and I said, so are you saying that these are close to the killing fields? He said, no, I'm telling you, these are the killing fields. I just felt so defeated, but I still took it to the church, and I probably didn't have as much faith as they did, because I just thought there's no way they're going to want to be involved with this. But the opposite was true. They loved the idea of buying this property, redeeming the land, doing something good on which something very bad was done. My name is Dr. Brett Dutton. I'm the senior pastor of Magnolia Creek Baptist Church. We consider this to be holy ground and sacred space, and we will never do anything here. We've got plenty of land, and so we'll just build around it as needed.
They deserve that attention. They deserve that love. They deserve to know that people care and still care and will always care.